Hi, I'm Warren Sprouse. This is the Bible Forum. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, looking at life through a biblical lens, solving all the world's problems in 2 hours or less. We here in the United States of America are going through a tremendous upheaval. A lot of things are being said and done. A lot of people are moving us in directions some of us don't want to go, and we don't believe that's where the United States wants to go because that's not where she started. And then other people come along and say, you just don't understand. You know, you're a Christian. You've never been taught properly. You don't understand. You know, it's not like that. The United States was never a Christian nation. And all these people, I mean, Ben Franklin was a womanizer and Jefferson had a slave, that he had children by. And he was a deist. He wasn't a Christian at all. And had his own Bible. And I know all those stories, and some of that is true. It's not as true as you would think it should be, but there's a lot of other things. Let me explain something to you. Let me share a couple of things with you. It was February 9th, 1961. Then President Kennedy was speaking at a breakfast for international Christian leadership. And he said, quote, "Every president of the United States has placed special reliance upon his faith in God. The guiding principle and prayer of this nation has been, is now, and shall ever be, in God we trust." In 2015, the Anti-Christian Freedom from Religion Foundation sent a vehement letter to Northern Illinois University demanding it remove the Bible from the university's hotel rooms. Why? Because these angry atheists find it obnoxious. Yet as a result of their threatening letter, the university caved. It announced that it has removed the Bibles that were placed by the Gideons, a Christian organization that provides Bibles all across America free of charge, has done it for generations. In this country, started out as 13 colonies, there was a religious element in the founding of these colonies, later to be states. There were acknowledgments of religion, biblical religion, in the state constitutions of each of the states that ratified the Bill of Rights. The first state to do so was New Jersey in 1789. At that time, New Jersey was still operating under the 1776 Constitution, which said, "All persons professing a belief in the faith of any Protestant sect who shall demean themselves peaceably under the government shall be capable of being elected." In Maryland, the second state, ratified the Bill of Rights in 1789. At that time, they were under the 1776 Constitution, which said no other test ought to be required on admission to any office than such oath of support and fidelity to this state and a declaration of a belief in the Christian religion. North Carolina, 1789. No person who shall deny the being of God or the truth of the Protestant religion or the divine authority either of the Old or New Testaments, or who shall hold religious principles incompatible with the freedom and safety of the state, shall be capable of holding office. South Carolina, 1790. No person shall be eligible to a seat unless he be of the Protestant religion. The Christian Protestant religion shall be deemed the established religion of this state. New Hampshire, 1790. No person shall be capable of being elected who is not of the Protestant religion. Delaware was the sixth state, 1790. Every person appointed to any office shall subscribe, "I profess faith in God the Father and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, and in the Holy Ghost, one God, blessed forevermore. And I do acknowledge the Holy Scriptures of the Old and New Testament to be given by divine inspiration." New York was number 7 in 1790. It said the United American states declare laws of nature and of nature's God. All men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, appealing to the supreme judge of the world, a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. People of this state ordain the free exercise and enjoyment of religion, religious profession and worship without discrimination, provided that the liberty of conscience hereby granted shall not be so construed as to excuse acts of licentiousness, that's sexual immorality. Pennsylvania was number 8. Each member, before he takes his seat, shall subscribe, quote, I do believe in one God, the creator and governor of the universe, the rewarder of the good and the punisher of the wicked. And I do acknowledge the scriptures of the Old and New Testament to be given by divine inspiration. Rhode Island was number 9. By the blessing of God, a full liberty in religious concernments, rightly grounded upon gospel principles, will give the best and greatest security. In the true Christian faith and worship of God, they may defend themselves in their just right and liberties against all the enemies of the Christian faith. Vermont was the 10th state to ratify the Bill of Rights. It said, and each member, before he takes his seat, shall make and subscribe the following declaration. I, whoever you are, do believe in one God, the creator and governor of the universe, the rewarder of the good and the punisher of the wicked. And I do acknowledge the scriptures of the Old and New Testament to be given by divine inspiration, and own and profess the Protestant religion, and no further or other religious test shall ever hereafter be required. Virginia, number 11. It is the mutual duty of all to practice Christian forbearance, love, and charity toward each other. After the Bill of Rights was ratified by 3/4 of the states, Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson certified their adoption March 1st, 1792. President Kennedy, on November 22nd, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, was assassinated. The youngest president ever elected, being 43 years old. He was also the youngest to die in office, barely serving 1,000 days. He was on his way to the Dallas Trade Mart to deliver a speech in which he was prepared to say, quote, we in this country, in this generation, are, by destiny rather than choice, the watchmen on the walls of the world of world freedom. We ask, therefore, that we may be worthy of our power and responsibility, that we may exercise our strength with wisdom and restraint, and that we may achieve in our time and for all time the ancient vision of peace on earth, goodwill toward men. Kennedy's remarks continued, that must always be our goal, and the righteousness of our cause must always underlie our strength. For as was written long ago, except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. In a past era, Teddy Roosevelt, who was the youngest president, Kennedy was the youngest to be elected, but Roosevelt was only 42 when William McKinley was assassinated and he became president. Teddy Roosevelt addressed the American Sociological Congress. He said, quote, the civilization of Europe, America, and Australia exists today at all only because of the victories of civilized man over the enemies of civilization. Victories stretching through the centuries from Charles Martel in the 8th century, that was a battle against the Ottoman Empire, and those of John Sobieski, Ottomans again in Poland, in the 17th century. There are such social values today in Europe, America, and Australia only because during those 1,000 years the Christians of Europe possessed the warlike power to do what the Christians of Asia and Africa had failed to do, and that is to beat back the Muslim invader. Theodore Roosevelt further stated in his Thanksgiving proclamation, October 24, 1903, quote, in no other place and at no other time has the experiment of government of the people, by the people, for the people been tried on so vast a scale as here in our own country. Failure would not only be a dreadful thing for us, but a dreadful thing for all mankind. It would mean loss of hope for all who believe in the power and the righteousness of liberty. Therefore, in thanking God for the mercies extended to us in the past, we beseech him that he may not withhold them in the future. Kennedy again on February 9th, 1961 said this country was dedicated to two propositions. First, a strong religious conviction, and secondly, a recognition that this conviction should flourish only under a system of freedom. He continued by saying, the Puritans and the Pilgrims of my own section of New England, the Quakers of Pennsylvania, the Catholics of Maryland, the Presbyterians of North Carolina, the Methodists and Baptists who came later, all shared these two great traditions, which like silver threads have run through the warp and woof of American history. That is our heritage. We are on the edge of losing it. Not by force of arm, not by an army that would come and take it away from us, but by people who would turn their back on it. Just this year, in our celebration of Christmas, we have a school district in this country who, in putting on a play, having the children put on a play called A Charlie Brown Christmas, have scrubbed all references to the Bible, to God, and anything good. That's where we are, at the end of the age. And believe me when I tell you that as we have gotten to this point, we are at the end of the age. America is our last best hope, and we are going down in flames. Not because an army has conquered us, but because we don't care. Now, my theology is driven in a little different direction on that score. I believe we don't care because God's grace is being limited. How does God guide people? Does God force people to go out and do evil things? No. He just doesn't stop them. We are evil people. The nicest of us are capable of some of the worst things. And as the phrase goes, there but for the grace of God. And when God withholds that grace, just limits it a little bit, we get more evil. This country has to go away before Jesus comes. Don't know when that's going to happen. But the handwriting is on the wall. Is it too late? No idea. But it's never too late to do right.